Now, Egypt's capital, Cairo, has today witnessed its biggest rally since it began protests against the government of President Hosni Mubarak last week. The atmosphere has been festive, with protesters singing and chanting. Protest leaders, including Mr. Mohammed El Baradei, have called on Mr. Mubarak to step down by Friday at the latest.
As people take to the streets for the 8th day in a row calling for a change in Egypt, the United States says it will not take sides between the people and the government. Still walking a diplomatic tightrope, however, U.S. officials insist President Barack Obama is not calling on Mr. Mubarak to step down and that it is up to the Egyptian people to decide the way forward in Egypt.
There has to be meaningful negotiations with a broad cross-section of the Egyptian people, including opposition groups, that go to answering the very core of the freedoms that people desire.
Analysts believe the problem for U.S. policymakers is who will replace President Mubarak, a stalwart ally for 30 years. They fear the possibility of radical Muslims taking over in a country that is of paramount strategic importance. Meanwhile, protesters in the capitals of the Philippines and Thailand gathered in the streets today to call for the withdrawal of U.S. support for Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. In Manila, protesters armed with banners and pickets denounced American aid to the North African country and demanded that the U.S. government officially pull their $1.3 billion military aid to the Egyptian government, saying the country has abused its power and curtailed its citizens' rights. In a related development, the crisis in Egypt is taking its toll on oil markets. Brent crude oil futures surged to $101 a barrel in a 28-month high as anxieties rise that protests in Egypt could spark instability across the Middle East and disrupt oil shipments through the Suez Canal.
But I think the traders really looking at long-term implications of the change in regime in Egypt and how that will affect the whole balance of power in the Middle East. And what that will mean for supplies of crude oil from that area.
The Suez Canal in Egypt transports crude oil and liquefied natural gas that is bound to the U.S. market and other countries.